Do you remember the college entrance scandal from last year? Wealthy parents were paying large sums of money to get their children admitted into elite colleges. As a result of the investigation, many of the parents were arrested and convicted and spent time in prison or paid huge fines or both. Some of them stated that they just never even thought about the possibility that it might be wrong. Why would anybody think that it is okay to bribe officials, cheat on tests, take advantage of the system just because they're rich? But that's what they did, and their actions draw a suitable contrast to our why question for tonight. The last time we talked about the shepherds, how they remind us that Jesus came to rescue the poor, the dejected, the throwaways of society. Today we want to look at another typical fixture in contemporary nativity scenes, the wise men, or as some refer to them, the three kings. These guys were the rich and the elite of their day. They were the ones who had it all: wealth, respect, intellect. Everyone stood when they entered the room. And here they are, pictured next to the shepherds in the Nativity. Who were these guys? Where did they come from? What do they tell us? In short, why the wise men? Let's begin by reading the biblical text. The story of the wise men is found in Matthew chapter 2, beginning at verse 1. And there it says, "After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, 'Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.' When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them, 'Where is the Messiah to be born?' 'In Bethlehem in Judea,' they replied, 'for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time that the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him.' After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child lay. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened their treasures, and they presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route." That's all the Bible tells us about them. Any other stories or information about them comes from tradition or speculation or exaggeration or just plain storytelling. For example, they probably did not visit Jesus at the stable. It was probably sometime later. Some think it could have been as much as 3 years later. We do not know. We do not know that there were three of them. The number of three has been assumed from the number of gifts that were presented. We do not know their names, and we don't know the specifics of their origin, except that they were from the East. There's a lot that we don't know, but there are still a lot of things that they can teach us, and that is what we want to focus on here. So let's dig in. First, let's note that the King James Version calls them wise men, while the NIV and many other versions of the Bible call them magi. The word magi comes from a Greek word that refers to an ancient Persian priestly caste. Some have made the connection between these wise men and the wise men spoken of in the book of Daniel, because it appears to be the same word. They are sometimes referred to as kings, but they probably were not kings in the way we usually think of kings. They probably did not have a kingdom in the sense of a territory or a region that they controlled. The use of the title kings is most likely a nod to Old Testament prophecies that speak of kings from distant lands coming to pay homage to the Messiah. For example, Isaiah 60 is clearly looking forward to the coming of the Messiah, and it says, "Arise and shine, for your light has come. The glory of the Lord rises upon you." And it continues in verse 3 with, "Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn." Or in Psalm 72, where it says, "Many may the kings of Tarshish and of distant shores bring tribute to him. May the kings of Sheba and Seba present him gifts. May all kings bow down to him, and all nations serve him." But all of that is speculation. I'd like to get to what I believe is a much more significant aspect of the wise men, or the kings, in this story. Have you ever thought about the kings standing next to the shepherds? Now, granted, we understand that the kings arrived later, probably long after the shepherds were on their way, but they do hold positions side by side in the Christmas story and in all of our Christmas celebrations. While the shepherds remind us that none is too lowly to stand next to Jesus, Jesus came for the dejected, the throwaways. The wise men call our attention to the fact that no one, regardless of their position in life, whether it be politics or athletics or entertainment or wealth, whatever, they are all called to a place beside the manger. And not just a photo op, but a position of bowing, of humility, of setting themselves and their dignity aside, giving gifts, worship. We should not, in our hurry to get to Christmas, skip over the significance of that. These wise men, these kings, were the respected, the powerful, the dignified, and they bowed and worshiped. Here, next to the helpless babe, the despised and the elite bow together. It reminds us of the passage in Philippians where it says, "Every knee shall bow in heaven and on earth and under earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." I don't know where you are on that spectrum. You may feel helpless and unimportant, or perhaps you haven't made. You're respected, important, wealthy. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter, you need to find your place beside the manger and kneel. God bless you. Merry Christmas.